Great. So we start in 3, 2, 1. Hallo, moin moin, herzlich willkommen. Hier ist Podcast, ist echt, nicht einfach. Mein Name ist Dan und es ist endlich soweit. Ich freue mich sehr, dass es heute geklappt hat. Heute bei mir in der Show ist Quat. Er ist der Innovator von funktionaler Jonglage und sein Buch ist raus, was man mittlerweile lesen kann. Was es damit alles auf sich hat, was funktionale Jonglage zu bedeutet hat und wie es in Buenos Aires gerade aussieht oder in der Umgebung. Das hören und sehen wir uns jetzt an, gleich nach dem Intro. Aber vergesst nicht, ab da geht's los in English. So from now on, we're going to switch over to the English language. Have fun. We start with the show right after the bumper. Hello everyone, back and glad that everybody of you joins us again in the show. Finally we made it and we can say hello to Quat on the other side of the ocean. Hi Craig, nice to see you.
How you doing? Nice to see you guys.
It's so blessed that you take the time to join me in the small show, and as all the jugglers and also the non-jugglers who are listening and watching this show maybe know you, those who don't know you, you are more or less the innovator of the theory and practice of the inclusive juggling in form of the functional juggling. You design props which help us to learn juggling by not tossing it, which is kind of strange if you hear about juggling. But you say juggling is not accessible as long as we start it teaching at the wrong starting point with like a 3-ball cascade, which is our mainly definition of this is juggling. So what's wrong about juggling?
What's wrong about juggling? Okay, we're going to get right into it. Well, thank you for having me. I'll just say that. But it's not that it's something that's wrong with juggling. The point is there is nothing wrong with juggling. Juggling is not inaccessible. Juggling has always been inaccessible, or has always been accessible forever, for everyone. We've just defined it or interpreted it culturally in a specific way that makes it inaccessible. So if you actually understand what it means to juggle, if you actually understand correctly what it means to experience juggling, just like we more accurately understand what it means to experience music and dance, if we're able to understand juggling as one of these forms of experiences as opposed to a technical discipline, then there is nothing inaccessible about juggling. It's accessible for everyone. It's a universal.
You said something which was really mind-opening for me and understanding your theory about juggling. You said something about like, how can we just teach people juggling without them having the possibility to experience what juggling feels like to be if you know how it works. And there was this picture of like riding a bike or swimming. In the beginning you can't do it, you don't know how to do, but there are steps like to help you to at least feel how it would be if you manage to do all this stuff together. So balancing and moving your feet in the right timing. And then there's like maybe the dad who holds you and who helps you, or like these small wheels who are gonna help you to take the balance, so you have at least experience on what the feeling is about. So this was for me like a good picture on how this is with juggling. And with the 3-ball cascade, it's different because it's quite hard.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, the thing with the learning model you just described is called scaffolding, and in most situations it works very well. Like you build up a challenge, but in what you're doing with this thing with like training wheels and having support, you're sort of deconstructing support, you know. So you put in support, you allow the person to experience the activity as part of their learning process, because experience is important for us to learn. We need to have experience so we can develop our sensory awareness of that activity. But when I say the 3-ball tossing cascade, it doesn't let you do that because you're either doing it or you're not. So there's a barrier. And the same way, the same barrier exists with riding a bicycle, because you either ride it or you don't. If you don't ride the bike, you fall over. And if you don't swim, you drown, right? So in both of these situations is why I like to use them as examples, is it's so clear, it's so obvious, even for a non-juggler to get this idea, because in those situations, there's a risk of danger, there's a risk of injury. So it's obvious that we created those things. But as a result, it allows everyone to experience the activity. So try to imagine now if you didn't have those. If riding a bicycle, everyone's like, this is how you ride a bicycle. The only way you could learn, someone would show you how it was done, and then you had to do it on your own. You weren't allowed to use the support of any wall. So every time you got up and tried, you fell over until you figured it out, and no one was allowed to help you. How many people would learn to ride bicycles? Like, not so many, and less people would learn how to swim if we never let these tools happen. So again, I think like put in the 3-ball tossing cascade as the primary entry level is absurd and ridiculous, because this is not the start point of juggling, and all you're doing is creating this like barrier so that people can't enjoy this thing that's really beneficial to a lot of them.
Then we need to talk about what is then so beneficial about juggling, because as we both are long-time jugglers, we know the state of the flow you can have while juggling, and we not only can feel the benefit which goes beyond only the physical thing you do. So not only that you are moving your body and you're training your eye-hand coordination, but also the social benefit that you meet other people, you play with other people, coming up with playing ideas, and all this world, which is like the world of arts, in fact. So the same maybe experience could have somebody who's dancing or somebody who's making music, could have maybe the same benefit. But what is the real benefit of juggling? Why more people should experience this state of what you feel when you're juggling?
Yeah, and so there's so many directions you can go with this question, and I find for me like the best thing to focus on is the state of mind that it creates, right? Because that's going to be the thing that is universal, and this was sort of fundamental to my initial research. Or the division that I made at first, because if you actually start to get into this conversation about what is juggling, you get so much debate, so much noise, a lot of really strong opinions about this, but no one with any idea who seems any more right than the other. Just looks like a bunch of different religions arguing with each other over who's more real. So I tried to take an outside.
Do you have an example on this?
And tried to. There's a lot of people in the world who really have a strong opinion about what juggling is, and anyone who does that, that opinion in some way will alienate people from accessing it, because they're all defining it by its action. Everyone is trying to understand juggling as an action. So anyone who attempt to have done this that I have observed in the past has always done so externally. What is juggling from the outside? So the thing that I did differently was I tried to figure out what juggling was from the inside, because if I could do that, then I could share it with everyone. And this is where the state of mind research came into play, because we started off like initially with like, oh, juggling activates the brain in the same way music does. Oh, what are all the research on music? And then you're like, and also there's connections to the state of mind with meditation and yoga and psychedelics. And you're like, human beings throughout history have been obsessed with accessing this particular state of mind, and juggling is one activity that allows us to produce that. And when I saw all the other activities that were producing the same state of mind that were not juggling, I saw a lot more like accessibility and a lot more integration in society, like the music, dance, the meditation, the yoga. And then I saw the juggling community, and I was like, well, why isn't juggling like this? We're doing the same thing, but it's not accessing that. So I made this distinction. I try to make this distinction between the expression and the experience of an activity. So to understand how to stimulate that state of mind. So I worked backwards. I was like, okay, if this is the state of mind, now I want to understand what's happening externally. What are the relationships that are causing that state of mind to be triggered? And then focus everything around that, because this is the real benefit. So, because this is when I do partnerships with other people too, like maybe they're interested in juggling and maybe they're not, but everyone's interested in the impacts. And because the impacts are sort of transformative. They're transformative. Everybody knows what it's like to have a flow state experience. It rewires the brain.
It's really interesting that, me too. I also thought that like, juggling is when you like, just know like to juggle 3 balls. That was like in the beginning. I was 10 years old. My father teach me like the 3-ball cascade with 3 socks. And then at some point, just like you learn it and you know how it works. And then later on now, I'm teaching a lot and the more and more I understand the minimalization of objects on learning juggling. So why should I start somebody teaching juggling and give him like just 3 balls and show him like, yo, it works like this, just repeat it, just do like I do. He won't be able. And the more and more I did that, I just realized the more fun and I don't know the word in English, if you have if you don't failure all the time, but you have like experience of success. So I developed a lot of 1 ball activities you can do before you start even juggling 3 balls, and also having this state of mind even with less objects.
Yeah.
So what I did, I reduced just the number of objects and found out, hey, it works also with like 1 prop. You don't need like 3 props to juggle or to become into this state of mind. What you did now is like you just reduced also the tossing and catching from juggling to make it even more accessible on a really different point of view. And one little story I need to tell you, because now I have you here. I saw a video with, we're going coming to this topic, to the Juggle Board. And I did this with my, at that time, 5-year-old daughter. And we just like, she mirrored me and we did like some stuff I saw on a workshop from you. I think you did it in K8 Malabares.
Okay.
On online Facebook workshop. I was watching the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
And I was just like trying with her, and like it was amazing what she could do in like these 20-30 minutes. We played around, and even that you don't need to talk is so ultimate strong in your idea.
So it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
It's extremely powerful.
And it bridges the gap between ages, between generations, between different capacities. Like I figured out a way to turn juggling into a language where like you can just play and engage, and you'd be so surprised what even a young child can do. Like at the beginning, it exceeded my expectations. I didn't think juggling was accessible to people below the age of 7, really. And now, like as soon as a child is able to understand like the basic social interactions that it's based off of, they can start to engage you in juggling, because it's not, these patterns, these sequences, they're universal, right? Like we didn't invent them. There's sort of laws to the universe, and it's about exploring your body and creating these rhythms. I mean, I have a lot of theories about it as well in terms of how I think we're sort of pre-wired for these conditions, and like. I don't know. I did a lot of research on neuroscience at one point and trying to figure out like the cause and effect systems, like what causes this stimulation, what causes these things. So, and then that led me into understanding like sensory processing a lot and how we take information from space. So you were talking about how like for a lot of jugglers now, even for me, it was at the beginning, it was more of like an aesthetical element to change the throw to like a roll. It was more about accessibility at first. That was my first instinct. But the more I kept going down that rabbit hole, the more I realized like there's nothing to stop me from keeping to play this way. It doesn't reduce the experience at all. So I was like, so the even rolling it, I can produce the same stimulation, the same state of mind, the same experience. So I had to figure out what was causing that. And what it is it doesn't matter the force that you use. It just matters that you're able to take information out of space from motion. Because if you have motion through space, that's like, I give the analogy of like 2 fish that are swimming, and the one fish asks the other fish, how's the water? And the other fish says, what's water? Because when to them, you don't know what it is. Like, so space is that thing for us. And one of the ways that we process sensory information from it is when we interact with objects that are moving through it, because it's carrying information it's reflecting the space around us. It's one of the ways that we process it. So I realized that, and then at that point I was like, okay, so the movement doesn't matter. All the person has to do to experience juggling is they need to produce a force. If a person can produce a force, they can experience juggling. That was like, boom. And then I went younger and younger. But I think you were talking more like just the opportunities for connection as well. Like I'm sure when you played with your daughter, you felt her in a way that you hadn't felt her before. Like the focus, the concentration, the awareness of each other, the reduction of ego. You feel all the elements of flow state. It's like a perfect packaging, to engage this way.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it really.
I'm glad you had that experience.
It's really fantastic. And also in a circus school where I'm working, we're having a juggle board from play.
Yeah.
So just like to let the people know, Craig developed a board where you can roll the balls inside of, like, how you say it?
A track. In English, we say a track.
Inside a track. And there are like 5 lanes where you can put like 5 balls, or even more if you put more balls in one lane. But you can also like put just only 1 ball on 5 lanes and just change the lanes. There are endless possibilities to play with it. But it takes away the fear of letting something falling, and which is like, in the minds of everybody, the worst thing in juggling could happen, which is even not true also in other theories. Also, we can embrace like the drop and the floor and just play with it, as Craig shows us also in his theory. And it's all open source, which is really important. I wanted to say, if you want to build it yourself, there are online videos of Craig who shows you how to build it. It's for free, and you just can like go in the, I don't know, the workshop, going like giving out, I don't know, $10 or less, and just build it yourself to have fun and to play with it. And it takes away the the fear of letting something down, letting something fall and defeat, and it's just starting to become a social playing. And you can play it with yourself, but it's like more and much fun to play it with others. And what you do is you learn like to push those balls, and the other one is pushing them back, and you can mirror yourself. That's what we're going to say about like you don't need to talk, because the other one is just like doing the same thing. And then you can just like play around. You can so do, I don't know the correct words. Craig will tell us, like the bilateral play. You can like just one tick at one moment. So your brains, both sides of your brains, just like take this one tick, and you work with both of your arms. Or you can like asynchron work with your arms, but still don't cross your both sides. Or you can even just like cross your hands and doing like some Mills mess, 5 balls Mills mess with this board. In fact, just like by rolling it, just to let the people know about how does this board works. But it's just only one of those tools who let you feel and experience the state of mind, the flow mind in juggling.
The Juggle Board is like the flagship prop. There's many different props, but like, and in the book that came out, we didn't even mention this. I have a book that came out in January that explains this theory. We can include links, I'm sure. But the book explains it more clearly, because I have to explain to people this misconception. They're like, oh, we now have a solution for the accessibility of juggling, and it's the Juggle Board. And no, the Juggle Board is not the solution. The theory that produces that object is the solution. To make juggling accessible for everyone, we have to imagine all these different types of people, and not everyone does the Juggle Board work for. The Juggle Board, I think, it's good for 2 reasons, because as a training tool, it helps me really explain the theory to people, because it's so literal. It's so like, you know. And then also as a facilitation tool, it's so intuitive. Like, there's something about the design I put a lot of work into there's something very natural about this. It's simplicity, like lines and balls, order. People respond intuitively. An infant tries to play with it. You know, they'll start. If you explore its physics, you are already playing by its rules. You know, so it has these elements to it, but it's based off this idea of kind of working like a system of notation, trying to figure out a way to create a language for interactions, but focusing more on the relationships we form with space, and then introducing relationships with time. And that's what you were talking about, the synchronous lateral, the synchronous bilateral. So I don't want to get into this part now today. It's like it'll take us down another rabbit hole. But
exactly.
But it's important to understand that that's there. So like what I did was I deconstructed the primary relationships that we can form, and there's not so many. And then also I analyzed like the order of hierarchy. So now when we start to play these games, we can introduce a lower level of stimulation. We can have a pattern, an activity that relates to a level of stimulation, and I can begin to engage that person there. And then without stopping, continuing to play, I'm constantly adjusting my movements to their movements to ensure, like you talked about, like I don't know if you talked about this, but there's this I call like emotional regulation. Like we're able to do emotional regulation because people get stressed out too. Like when you start to facilitate them, they get anxiety, and I feel that tension. When they roll me a ball, I'm getting so many beats per minute from them. I'm listening to them like a song. Like, and they're giving me a frequency. And when that frequency is out of balance, I'm constantly adjusting and reassuring them. So if they're giving me anxiety, I'm giving them back reassuring information, and they adjust and they copy that information. They harmonize with it. And then and then because when I'm engaged in that way, so I'm giving them challenge, I'm constantly relaxing them, and I'm taking them through increasingly complex layers of sequence and task without stopping. That's what allows me to communicate without talking, is the tactile. I'm given frequency, you know. That's how I'm communicating, and I do that by either shortening the distance between me and you, increasing the force I use, or reducing or increasing the time. It's those variables. But having that understanding of the structure, I think it makes it like, it allows us to go from 0 to 100 so fast, because we figured out the steps, we put them in the right order, and now we have this facilitation technique that is completely tactile. It's just physical, you know. Yeah, there's so many directions we can go, and I think it's probably why I've booked out for so long now, just traveling and sharing. It's really cool.
Exactly. That's where it, all those ideas which you brought inside of this, inside the book. If you want the book, it's free accessible. Quat props point nets. There you're gonna find it. We're gonna just pull on here the link. Here's the link. There you go. Yeah. Where all those ideas and theories also you find, but then you will find out there's just like more even onto this one. So this one is like, okay, now we're going to reduce it. We're going to have to play with this really, it's really like a force to have, like, come into connection with people, maybe also with disabled people or people who are like strangers. You could just start playing with strangers without talking to them, and this power is really great to connect also in the pedagogy work, like in every age. I think there's no age where I can say like you can't use that. You can't just like bring people to enjoy it and to have fun with it, and even together. So as I said, I was like enjoying it with my daughter who's 5 years old. I can imagine I also could enjoy it with somebody who's like my dad, like 65 years old.
I get videos and messages all the time from people, like strangers, and of them like sharing juggling with their blind father, who's like, you know, he never saw them perform or something, you know, like just tears of gratefulness. I receive a lot of gratitude. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and also there was like a long history of traveling, which took you your idea and also your master plan.
Yeah, so I think too, like, I guess to understand it, because it's really the theory is so different, right? It's just such a jump from where the direction that, you know, our pedagogy and our culture has been going. So I think it seems a bit more radical to everyone else than it is to me. But if you understand sort of the path of its creation, it makes a lot more sense, you know. It's how the project is structured and why the theory is the way that it is, because it didn't come from juggling, you know. I was someone who studied juggling, but I was after something else. So like at the beginning, I had experienced like a few benefits from juggling myself, right? Like I'm someone who has like different non-neurotypical, like struggled with education, had to come up with different learning models. Juggling was a tool for me as a child. As a young adult, I had struggled with depression. Juggling was a tool to help me with that. Socially, it gave me this opportunity to volunteer with programs and engage with circus. It was a tool for that. So I'm someone who just constantly throughout my life just experienced juggling as a tool for self-help. I never really saw it as a performance or an art form. I do now. I love it as an art form now, but my initial 20 years of experience with it was just, this is something I used to make myself better, so I approached the problem solving that way too. And the other thing, I wasn't trying to like prove anything or create a new theory. When I was beginning, I didn't know I was creating new material. I was just trying to solve problems that were in front of me, which related to people who were different than me. And I was really interested in capturing the sensation of it. So from that point of getting like some of my initial ideas, I've been traveling the world like on a nonstop tour since 2017. Like it started before that, but nonstop since 2017. And that's been a crazy experience. I'm in Argentina now for over 1 year. I've been here since last January, but we're going to start the tour again in September, and it's getting bigger. I have a team now. We're going to be 4 people.
Yes, and you are also giving workshops a lot around the world. For the instant, online, there are I see like maybe in all the countries I see like online workshops
Yeah.
popping out. Even one in Germany who's coming out in May. I just saw today. I don't know the dates exactly, but you can just like find it on just go on the internet and just like see it, or like on the German site zirkuspädagogik.de of our friend Jens Flissenswert. There you also see the link to the online workshop with Craig. How many people you invite into the workshops?
It depends on the region, depends on the location. So I'm always like collaborating with groups, and the reason we're doing it by this way is like it's easier for me to organize, and we want to try to have this classes filled with people who are close together in the world instead of like international, because then those are the people that create the collaborations and do the projects after, and I can concentrate.
Exactly.
I can concentrate the material towards them. It makes it easier that way. But what was the question? Where am I doing them now?
In fact, the question is how
it depends.
if somebody wants to get a workshop.
Yeah, up to 12 in one group is the most that we'll do. Yeah.
All right, and if somebody is interested in joining some workshops, where he can find all this information, where he can find it.
So like this is
joining you on Facebook.
I do like a little bit of grassroots here, so I let the people who are promoting it, they promote sort of locally. So check out if you're in Germany. But I think Marc.bielert is the guy's name. We can post a link for this, right? I'm sure we can post a link for
sure,
this.
yeah.
And I know in June and July, I'm going to be organizing public ones, like international, for the people who aren't connected to any of these communities that I partnered with this year. So that one's going to be international, and I think I'll try to offer 3 of them, like for the timing, because we need one on the weekend and then one on the weekdays, evenings and night times, Because the thing is, I don't plan on doing this again for a long time. This is only happening now because we're in this situation. And I'm trying to work with as many people as I can and give this opportunity. But there's only so much I can do.
So what will be the next step? What does that mean for us to now have a different understanding of how juggling can work, if we just like always say juggling is if you can like reach the state of mind which produces by juggling? Is this the ultimate goal in juggling?
For me, this is my goal, because for me it was always the state of mind that gave its benefits. Those were the things the impacts that are transferable, and it's a very healthy state of mind. Flow state is very healthy. We know the benefits of these activities. Like, it's so applicable in today's society for the issues and the things that we're looking at. But if you're going to take a step back now and say, okay, let's imagine we made juggling accessible for everyone. Let's say this guy who claims he can allow people to share this experience so easily, this thing that has been so inaccessible for so long. Let's just put that idea aside and let's just try to imagine a world where juggling is completely accessible for everyone. What does that look like? For starters, it means a lot more people juggling, right? If because you look at the bicycle and make the comparison to bicycle. If you took away the training wheels, if you took away teaching models, less people would ride bicycles. So if we add training wheels,
it would be a different world today.
It would be exactly. Let's say we added training wheels to juggling. What does that world look like? It looks like every toy store you go into has juggling equipment. Every sports store you go into has juggling equipment. That means manufacturers selling more equipment. And in our culture, in our industry, because it has this art side, it has this athletic side, those companies tend to support artists as well. So that sector grows. You have people who are more interested in purchasing tickets to see juggling shows. So I make this comparison as well. Like why is football so huge around the world? Everybody loves football. Why? Because every child experienced it as a child. When you can experience something as a person, and when you witness someone else doing it, you can embody that experience with them. But you don't see kids in the audience embodying the experience of the juggler on the stage because they have no connection to that, right? So more jugglers means definitely a lot more people enjoying juggling, right? It means bigger conventions. These things are nice. Where it gets really interesting, I think, for us is the partnership opportunities, the opportunities to expand and grow our industry and markets in new directions. Because I think for like a really long time, like circus, the arts form as an art form, and juggling in particular, it sort of like has ceilinged out now. We've had some periods of growth, but I travel, I work a lot with artists, and I see like right now the industry wasn't, even before the COVID, it wasn't growing as fast as we were pumping out like crazy talent. So we need a way to encourage that growth. And the social circus community is more aware of this, and we're very active in intentionally trying to do it. I'm not sure the arts community is as focused on this issue, but it's not their discipline, right? Education is my job. So I get it. But the idea is that...
But this community is growing, no? The
social circus education is growing so much faster than the arts industry.
Yes.
And it's not being slowed down by any of the economic crises over the last 20 years as well. Like, it's a constant growth because I think it reflects a shifting of culture around the world. Like, traditional sports, it doesn't fulfill the needs of today's education, like what we need from education. So this is like the biggest implication. Like, I feel like the world is waiting for circus. Like, circus just needs to get its stuff organized. And that's like what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go around the world and help people understand, like, the world is ready for this. The world is ready for this. Let's meet them where they are now, right? Let's take circus has always been on the outside forever. That's could have been like its thing, and that's what allowed it to become what it is. It has all these sort of like utopian values built into it, right? Like, it has the workings of a society, like so many good values of its cooperation, its celebration of art form and self-expression over competition.
International. It always was, always inclusive.
Yeah, so the impacts of circus for everyone, I think, is huge. And you see that change shifting around the world. There's governments, there's education systems now that are really investigating. There's research coming out. So we're going that direction. I see it as a bubble. For me, it's not if, it's when. It's when this transition happens.
Point what you say. And I'm just like thinking now that even circus is like, what it was for me, like as a child. If I saw somebody like doing crazy acrobatics or doing like aerials or doing like crazy juggling with more than 4 props, for me those people were like superhumans. You know, they could like do superhuman thing. They could like jump and roll and flip and do stuff I would never imagine that I one day could perform these or could do these. And this makes it really exclusive. And so also the how I say, like, for the circus, it was also important that they stayed exclusive because they were like, they need to sell something, you know? And you need even to travel around and go from town to town. So you don't want that everybody knows like the like magic, like you don't know that you know the tricks and how it works, because we don't want that much of different people who like just floating our markets. And now it's just like it's like a switch happening also, that all those old cultural demands on people, like being the strongest, being the fastest, being the best quarterback, like, you know, working through business with your elbows out, just don't going to fit anymore in the future, where the more and more robotics and machines will do the most of the hard job, and we need more like creative people and playful people. And that's like where we come around with your topic. Like, imagine a world where juggling is accessible for everybody and circus skills are accessible for everybody. How creative the people will also become out of this.
Unbelievable.
And start finding like new ways also to improve this.
Yeah, because it triggers a different type of growth development. Like all the activities of circus, it has a combination of using the body, triggering flow states, having sequences bilateral. But this growth is like, if you really start to look at the neuroscience behind it and what it offers, is really, it suggests a big social change. If you were to make it every child, like in your country tomorrow, right? Like at age 7, every child experiences 3 years of object manipulation programming, right? So they all, by the time they're done with this programming, they've all got, 4 or 5 balls. They got a couple tricks. They do some, poi, some other things. Like, just based off the impacts of a 3-month study of what happens to the brain after 3 months of juggling, let's say we didn't exceed that expectation. It means that entire generation of youth would have 5% more brain mass than the generation before them. And it's not just brain mass, it's a different type of brain mass, because juggling kind of works like language does. It interconnects all regions. And in the book, I explain this well. And my theory is that because it allows us to detach from linear time, because it's orbital events within orbital patterns of events, just like music and dance is that rhythmic structure. And this allows our ego to go down a little bit, because it makes us less conscious of our point in linear time. I think this is what allows us to trigger the state of mind. But
This is interesting.
Yeah, the neuroscience behind what it does, the impacts of it is like, it's no joke. And juggling does it so fast. That's what I love about juggling. It's not that I think I'm not sure if it's that I love juggling or that I love what juggling does, because it's so effective at stimulating the state of mind. And even now, because it's non-verbally, this is what allows me to use it as like a therapeutic tool, like an emotional clinical tool, because I can interact with people without talking, and I don't have to ask them to trigger the state of mind. I just take them there. Whereas like in a therapy session, you're talking, okay, use mindfulness, try to be present with me right now. If the person's struggling, if it was that easy, they would just do it, right? So we're talking about people who are trapped from that moment.
The barrier.
There's something stopped. There's so many people in the world that are not able to engage a sense of presence independently right now. And this tool allows me to take them to that place. Like they don't have to think. If they respond with the reflex of sending me the ball back, that's it. It's over. I'm taking you to Happy Town. Like we're going there. and it's really helpful for people. It gives a moment of relief. And yeah, but like on the academic side, there's so many freaking impacts, and we know that the school systems want it. So I believe it's only a matter of time as these methods become more normalized, because it's still a new idea for a lot of people. Like juggling with everyone, no, juggling has always been this thing. You said this with the economy has changed, right? It doesn't work this way anymore. But we have that thick culture, so like it's not enough that I created these solutions. I also have to be this sort of ambassador now and like visit all of these places, and I have to literally have the experience with them, because once someone feels it this way, they're like, there's no conversation anymore. Like that's an experience of juggling. That's going to give people a lot, you know?
Yeah. That's a great thing that you just like can have to play with the people who are maybe skeptical about it. Just like, feel it. Just like, And it works like that. Just you can feel it by yourself.
And if it's not for you, you don't need it. That's cool. Somebody else can use it. Like it's about being inclusive. It's about I think is really focused, like to summarize my work is I'm focused on extending the spectrum of juggling in the opposite direction. Like throughout juggling's history, it's always been about trying to extend its spectrum upward into this. And I was like, well, what's down here? What's in the basement? Because, we need to, if we make it more accessible, then more people can participate. And that goes back to like the implications of like the economy. Like a lot of the people who I train, they create new partnerships with like hospitals, school systems, places that they weren't able to work before, and places that are like really in need of these services as well. So it's pretty awesome when that happens. I think it's even like grants. I know like the reason the seminar's happening in Germany is one of the guys there got a really decent grant to get juggle boards to start working with elderly populations. I think another thing is like that I'm interested in is like just getting like circus people to think like bigger about what we are now than before. Because like with this old idea that being a circle, like it's still a circle, but we need to like, or no, it's not a circle. Now it's a globe. It's a globe. That's the thing. The world went from that. It's a globe now. It's a global world. So circus needs to learn that, and we need to start being everywhere. You don't go to the circus now. The circus is just everywhere. Is my vision.
The circus is not flat. It's like, as you said, it's not a flat world. It's a round world.
It's an interesting time to be in circus.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen now through our culture, and also throughout the mix. I think of being more open to different art forms. So the new circus wave coming through, you have more connections with dance, more with choreographies, with music, live music on stage. So it's more like a mixture. It's not so exclusive. Oh yeah, there comes this guy. What is his skill? Well, his skill is like throwing 8 balls. There you go. There you catch them. Welcome. Now here comes the next one. What is his skill? Well, his skill is, I don't know, playing guitar with his teeth. All right, let's go. But it's become more and more like telling stories, transporting emotions. Also in this mixture of like the arts form of performing arts are like not only so exclusive side by side by side. A little bit the same with music, which happened throughout the time, where just like was like, okay, this was this music, this rock music, this hip hop music, and they don't need to go together. No, there's no way that hip hop and rock music come together. And one day there was like a band who did it, and everybody say, okay, now we have a new music art form which is called like this because we need to put it inside names. But in fact, it's not like that. In fact, it's just like everything becomes just as in the movement. It's just like moving, because there is so much happening also in the other art forms. Also in dancing, there's a lot going on in the moment in the dancing scene also. That's why it becomes so, what you see like everywhere. Circus is not only exclusive to this tent and to this old imagery of the circus clown and the circus juggler.
Yeah. And we have to start taking the steps, be aware of that, and start taking the steps in those directions. Like, it's been going on for a while. Like, it's been happening. And different countries have different successes, but I think what you're describing is just like cultural evolution, and it usually comes in waves. Like, there's groundworks, there's a new period of everyone sort of getting on the same page. And I think that's what I mean by it's exciting, because we're sort of at the beginning. It's like, like punk rock was just invented. Like the idea of doing circus with everyone is just starting to come into our minds. And it's beautiful to see the evolution, different people trying different things in different areas. And what's so great now is we have this technology. So when one person has success, when they find a successful model, that knowledge can spread so much faster. And we all move forward. So circus is just like a wave, and I'm just taking my work and pushing it onto that, that energy to try to make it go further.
Why is it all open source? Why don't you collect some money for your book as well, or as like for your Juggle Board? You just, I think you gave Play built them, Play in Italy, build a Juggle Board for you.
I collaborated with Play. I do collaboration. So I guess to start with is like, I'm a person who I choose not to believe in money. Like, I just don't. And I don't just say that as like, I'm anti-system, I don't believe in money. Like, no, I literally, like, just same way some people don't believe in religion, I don't believe in money. I accept that it's there, and I engage with this system as much as I have to, but it disgusts me, and like things that disgust you usually don't want to interact with, right? So there's that on a very basic level. But then from like a logistical standpoint, if you understand my goals, I have a very simple goal. I want juggling to be accessible for everyone. Why I want that is because I think it'll have an impact, and I don't really see another cool thing to do with my life. Like, it's a fun thing to do with my life. That's why I do it. Life is a game to me. I see life as a game. So the money aspect of it.
A friend of mine would say, life chose you to do this.
Maybe, but I was like, if I want to sell this, like, okay, that could happen. But one, I'm going to need like a lot of startup capital. Two, it's a lot of work that I'm not interested in. It's a lot of work that I'm not interested in. So I did a partnership with Play. It was like 2 years of research. I was living in the UK at the time, and they funded the whole thing. Like, he flew me to Italy, I don't know how many times, probably 5 times during that period. And, I stayed in his house there. I was in the factory with him. He's showing me what his capacities are. I'm explaining to him what it needs to be. And he was...
Greetings to Davide.
Yeah, he was really focused on understanding, like, what the needs were. Yeah. And then he's
such a super cool guy.
Yeah, and he funded the whole prototype development. I didn't put any of the money in. Wow. And I told him, like, I was like, this is my deal with you. Like, I don't want to own this. I don't want to sell it. Like, it's not... I don't want to do that with my life. I understand there's a lot of people who are confused with this idea, but for me, it makes total sense because I'm very happy. I'm doing the thing I want to do. Like, I don't get this idea with people like, oh, why didn't you take the money? And I'm like, because I didn't want to do the thing. Like, it's not about the money. It's about the thing. So yeah, Play Juggle, amazing. And I learned so much. Davide taught me so much about like the construction process. So I got a lot out of this experience already. And I'm giving seminars. I have a theory, like, I believe I don't mind if you're going to give me something, it has to be in exchange for a direct service that I provide for you. If I don't provide another human being a direct service, then I don't feel comfortable making an exchange with that person. That's how I see my economy. And I don't mind if these other people benefit, and I'm always looking ways to have that help other people. So like, for example, the book is published and it's gotten over 2,000 downloads. Boom. no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal. And people keep asking, oh, I want to buy this book from you. And I'm like, I don't sell things. I don't sell things. I'm okay for other people to sell the book. So I'm trying out a new experiment now, how to screw the capitalist system. And a school from the United States, from Circus Harmony, and they work in St. Louis. I think they're in St. Louis, but they're really focused on like inner city work, helping with like the racial issues in the United States. And I love what they're doing. And they had a little shop, and I was like, hey, do you want to print this book and sell it, and you can keep all the money? And they were like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Wow.
And I was like, just spend it on your project, and I'm happy. Because anyone can do that. Anyone can print the book. So for me, you're paying them for a service of giving you that book, because you could do it yourself. There's also that option. But the thing is, all these things add up after a while. You see this pattern of how I'm being open source. It's a strategy to achieve my goal. It is like there's all these generous parts of it, goodwill. But if you actually step back from your ego long enough and think about what is it I want to achieve, it becomes very obvious that all of those capitalist things that you're looking at are not part of your goals, are not part of your path. They're secondary things that are going to stop you from reaching your goal.
Even they stand in the way to reach your goal, because on this way you just like have to distribution for free. Your idea gets spread around, and there's no barrier as well as there. So it's, as you say always, it's accessible for everyone.
Yeah. And then it helps us get there faster. It helps us all get to the place where we need to be faster.
Yeah.
And that place is a more inclusive world, a more equal world. Like that's the end goal. Circus helps make the world more inclusive. I help Circus be more inclusive. End goal, more inclusion. And then in the meantime, I get to have a really cool life. Like I'm not complaining at all. I feel I got the better end of this deal. So like for the people who are tempted, maybe young artists, like you think you got a great idea and you're tempted to go down this path of all these idols you saw come before you, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a lot of successful artist friends. The world doesn't work that way anymore. You're going to be miserable. You're going to always be trying to defend yourself from the next piece of competition that's coming up to get you. And your whole life just becomes like this one thing. And you end up having crappy relationships, and you're just, you're a classical model of that, artist. Good luck, have fun. Or if you have a great idea and you try to share it with the world, then especially if you try to share a good idea with the circus world is going to invite you into their house. Because everywhere I go, I stay with people. They put me in their homes. I live with them. I eat with them. They drive me places. I'm able to travel and see the world and experience it through the culture of circus. I get a little bit of money. Not a lot, but I get a little bit of money for this. But you tell me who's having a better time. So
it sounds like you got the better side of the deal out of this.
I feel like I apologize to everyone else for believing in that path of capitalism. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't. I hope that my lifestyle too. Like I intend to do this. Like I'm a little bit of like making a point. Like, I go more extreme just to try to show other artists like there's another path. Like you don't have to make it about only yourself. You don't have to make it about competition. So I like to sort of look at my career and use it as a way to like tell the arts community, to like the capitalist aspects of art, to say, hey, you know what? It's a new world now because people like me can exist in it. And all of this is because of technology, You go back 30 years, this couldn't be possible.
Yes, because of technology, it's possible also for you to work from every spot of the place where you want to, and also to get your ideas spread around without just like having to physically meet the people. And with all these possibilities of videos, which we also want to get under this video, and provide some links of inspirational ideas and of also links from videos of your work. The Juggle Board, we're gonna check a link out of it, so that you can find it, that you can see it, how it works, just like to give you an idea what Craig is doing. What is then your plan for the next year and for the next like 2-3 years?
I've always got plans, and then I've got plans inside of plans inside of plans, because I find that like it's not about like having a plan. It's a kind of more choose your own adventure. So like I say, I have this, I'm going to try to do this thing, and then there's a bunch of things that could happen. So I don't know what's going to happen, but if I stick to the main part of the plan, then in September I'm going to start traveling in a van. Right now I'm in Argentina, The idea is to pick up the van in October and then pick up a group of 2 more people in Chile in November. And I was planning to do a Latin American tour anyway. I've been on this tour. So I have invitations to go to all these cities and countries. The work is lined up. So we're going to take the van. We're going to do that and share functional juggling seminars, continue to develop this community. But what's I'm more excited about is the team that's coming with me, because we're also doing, a friend from Spain is going to be on the project with me. His name's Miguel Manzano. You should look out for him, because he's someone who's really focused like me on developing social circus community. So with this project, what we're going to do is he's going to try to make a documentation. So he does a lot of editing and publication. So he's going to make a magazine for each country we go to, collecting articles and art from the community and sort of curating it and putting it together. And then in each city we go to, we're going to host like sort of a circus TED Talk event where we bring like different artists from different parts of the community for one day, and we interview them kind of like we're doing now. To make a presentation and to create a lot of video, and then we'll edit that video and put publications out. Because what I'm discovering, like, I think it's not the focus of my project. The focus of my project is like the functional juggling thing. But if you stop and take a minute to like think about what I'm experiencing, it's like I feel so guilty that I'm not documenting and capturing more of this to share. Like, because that's been the most mind-blowing part of all of this for me, is how much circus I've seen around the world and how much there is that we can learn and grow from each other. So like when I came to Latin America, I thought it was more about like, oh, you know, I'm this outsider with this knowledge of circus. I'm going to help bring it here. And then I got a wake-up call because I saw that, no, this whole ecosystem has been existing without us. They have their own philosophies, all of this crap. Like, this is a gold mine for us of new knowledge and information and ways of problem solving. So I hope in the future to create more projects where I can create awareness and exposure, make more bridges between other parts of the world, because it's the bridges that I'm traveling as well. So that's like that's going to start this year, and then to the end of this year. And then if we're good, if on our schedule, we could do this in 21 months. We're going to go up to Peru, Ecuador. Colombia is like a huge social circus scene. So we're going to be spending a good amount of time there. Up to 6 months, and then we're going to make our way back down to Bolivia, Argentina again, Paraguay, Uruguay, and we're going to finish in Brazil, probably in Brasilia. And then at that point, I need to get to Australia because they've been waiting for a while. The school's there to have a seminar. And after Australia, I need to get back to Europe to do another year tour there. But I was thinking to stop in India in between Australia and Europe, because why not? It could be
Why
cool.
not? Give me a call if you are in Europe.
Are you there? Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's the plan. Because it's kind of like, I don't need to go back now. I built a lot of infrastructure in Europe. Like, there's a community of people. Like, I was really smart. Like, from the very beginning, like, I really took the responsibility. I understood that, like, okay, this is something that is really important to a lot of people. I need to make sure that it's not only accessible through me as well. So I mentored a community of people, and now they're working together and they're applying for funding grants to become more formalized and even get recognition of this methodology by like health institutions. So I could not go back to Europe, and functional juggling would still grow, but I want to go do sort of like a celebration tour with all my friends. I got a lot of friends in a lot of places I would like to see. And I think I could rock my life that way, like, because my home base now is Latin America. Like, I'm definitely part of this land, but it's so much cheaper to live here. So I'm thinking like maybe I could do like a 3-year seasonal thing, like 1-year tour in Europe, 3 years chill out in Latin America, doing social circus projects, get some sort of a rhythm. Because the consequence, not a consequence, but a byproduct of what I've been doing is I got friends in so many places and I want to see them all. So it's like, you got to keep moving. It's like you go down, once you start moving a little bit, it's hard to stop, right?
It's like a rock.
Yeah, your home gets spread out all over the world. So yeah, and then after, so when I come to Europe, yeah, you'll know about it. There'll be a tour, I'm sure. But I'm probably going to be focused on the areas I didn't develop the first time. So, cool story. I don't know. Maybe you can use this story. I think it's interesting. When I first started to share functional juggling in Europe, like, I found different levels of openness and responsiveness from different countries. And the 2 countries that I found the least openness from, like the least responsiveness to me, was France and Germany. And then I was like, whoa, what's up with that? Those were like some of the first places I went, because I'm like, this is the center. I'm going to go here. It's going to spread fast. And I got a lot of rejection. I'm not sure how much of it was like cultural, like because I'm American, I'm like super fucking American or something. I think that was a part of it. Like they were just like not having this information from someone from this part of the world. I don't know, because it's so obvious that it's good. You know, I was really naive. Like I walked into this situation, the high level of juggling, like just completely blank face, not knowing like how much culture and history was there to unravel. So I recognize this resistance to the change from these, because they're more institutionalized. They've been around for so long. Like, this is so new. What do you have to show us? Like, why should we listen to you? And I'm like, I don't know. So I did a strategy, and I focused on. I was like, I'm gonna surround these guys. That's what I'm gonna do. If I can't change their culture now, I'm gonna surround them, and they'll have to change. So I focused in the UK, Scandinavia, a lot of work in Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. Yeah. I surrounded them. Nice. I tell you, like, life is a game for me. I'm playing chess, and now it's bleeding over. So now, like with the book, it's strange because the countries in the top 5 is France and Germany for downloads.
Yes, you see, yeah. But the German social circus community really knows about you and knows about your work, and I see the more and more people I see, like not only being interesting, but also if I'm teaching my students, they come and already know who is Craig Quat and what is what are the Quat props and what you can do with functional juggling, even before I tell them about, hey, there is this new idea, which is not that new, because it's like 10 years old, no, more or less.
10 years, yeah, but I didn't really start like really having an idea of what I was doing, I think, until like 6 years into it.
Yeah, but just like saying, like I always say, like the people, oh, I have this new concept on juggling I want to share with you, because I think it's really great also for your work with all the people you're going to work afterwards. And I also say, like, it's a new one, but that new it isn't. So here in the community, the people are really aware of it, that it exists and it is there, and
that's
it's really a good tool to work in a lot. And I make a lot of propaganda in all the courses which I gave. Like, there's a lot of propaganda about this is a great tool.
But that's what's been helping it to share a lot too. Like, and it really relates to like my strategy as well, and how to be successful in the face of, like, you know, rejection at first. Is that you know, when the people who see it and recognize its power, like, they share it. I don't have to keep sharing it.
Exactly.
And it's just been this domino thing, and it keeps speeding up. And it's like it's been I think not confusing. It's been a unique experience, right? To go through that and being at the center of it and trying to navigate that experience and really trying to be like egoless in the process. I can't say it's been completely egoless, but I know that, like, you know, the balance is good. Yeah. The balance is good. And it's there was a time I was trying, after I made my whole circle, then at that moment I took a 6-month break. It was like 2018. I spent a winter in Budapest, and I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I was like, okay, should I go in for France and Germany? Should I try to finish this job now, or should I go to Latin America and then come back when it's more when it's a bigger thing, and then they'll have time to listen to me more. And I tried. I was gonna go. Originally, I was gonna move to Berlin. I wasn't ready emotionally to try to go throw my life into Latin America. So I think I was looking for like a way not to do it. So I went and I was talking in Germany. I was talking to Kabawatsi and all these great programs, and everybody in Germany was so happy and so excited to work with me in this moment. They're like, "Oh, we're going to do a project." I'm like, "Great! I got like 2 months left on my apartment. I'm moving here, you know, in a couple. I'll see. We got to start something in 12 weeks from now." And they're all like, "No, this is not possible." I'm like, "What do you mean we can't organize something in 12 weeks?" They're like, "No, we have to file the paperwork. We have to talk to the government. We have to get all the permissions.
Welcome to Germany.
We have to get all the permissions from all of the participants and da 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 da." And I'm like, I can't work here. I can't work here. This is not how I work. You know, it's not how I work. But now I have other partners, like people who, because I think it's important. Like, I've worked really hard to be accessible to as many different cultures as I can, but there's a limit to what I can do. You know, like, but it's great that I have these people like Marc.bielert, who's the collective member, the ambassador for the project in Germany, and he's starting all these projects. He's organizing the seminars. He created CNC versions, so you're seeing a lot of juggle boards get spread around Germany now because he made the file that you can bring to the lab.
Wow.
So yeah, this type of a lot of cool things are happening. So
wow, that's great to hear. I would thank you because our time is over more or less. So one last time, really great thanks to you, Craig, that you took your time to join us on the show and to talk about not only your all your projects, but also about a little bit about yourself and what you are doing in the past and the future. So thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
It was really exciting. Ihr Lieben, das soll es gewesen sein von der heutigen Folge. Podcast ist echt nicht einfach. Heute, wie gesagt, mit Craig Quat. Alle Infos zu diesem Interview findet ihr natürlich als Download-Liste oder als YouTube-Liste, Videoliste hier unten drunter. Alles, was wichtig ist, werden Craig und ich noch im Anschluss von diesem Podcast bequatschen und dann euch so gut wie möglich zugänglich machen, dass ihr auch nochmal ein bisschen Bildmaterial zu dem Ganzen habt. Vielen Dank an alle Patreons, an alle Unterstützer auf PayPal. Vielen Dank, dass ihr mich unterstützt. Das macht das Ganze noch viel einfacher und es macht mir noch viel mehr Spaß, weiterhin auf der Suche zu sein nach spannenden Gästen, so wie heute. In diesem Sinne, kommt gut durchs Wochenende, bleibt gesund und wir sehen uns und hören uns nächste Woche wieder. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal.